Hello, Procrastinator. Sam here, and today it is finally time to talk about Sonic Movie 3 spoiler discussion. This is gonna be it's just spoilers, okay? I don't want to hear any comments.
He dies, by the way.
Yeah, everyone fucking dies. I think the Deadly Six after credit scene was amazing. Make sure you guys stay for all 6 trailers. No, we're spoiling this movie rotten. I do have like bullet points of the main scenes to discuss.
Quick question, actually. How many times has everyone seen the movie?
I have done 5. I've done 5 watches.
5? That's insane.
Because it was premiere, the thingy I hosted. I watched with one of my friends Thursday, like the fan event thing. And then here on my own, I just went twice. The 5th time was not my fault. I went to the gym. The gym was like, hey, your boots are all wet from the snow. You can't get in here. I was like, okay. I walked out. The theater was right next to me. I was like, okay, I'm just going to go watch Sonic instead.
Dry off.
So
Watch Sonic and dry off.
Exactly.
I've only seen it once, so your bullet points are going to be very helpful.
Yeah, no.
But, I mean, I remember most things. It's still pretty fresh, but yeah, I need to see it like a few more times. I have a few friends that like want to see it with me.
That's nice. Yeah,
I saw it in Chicago.
I've seen it 3 times. So I think I'm all good now. I did write bullet points to the best of my ability, so I think we'll be.
I have backup bullet points for you.
Yeah.
Hell
Oh yeah.
You know, since we're doing the spoiler review, I have every scene in order that I wrote in the theater. I got you, bro. I got you.
So, yeah, let's just start this shit off, man. We'll start off the way the movie did. Can we talk about how, like, the movie, you see the Sega logo, and I think literally a minute 30 later, Shadow's already broken out of prison. That scene in the prison is quick. It's almost immediate. Like, I remember when we first saw it, Fidel, people were still walking into the theater when it started playing, and I was just like, people walking, I was like, get the fuck out.
I was like, move.
You don't want to miss that. That's like a really cool scene. It reminds me of the first Pokemon movie with Mewtwo, where he like breaks out of the lab. That's because that's also like the first scene, so that kind of like sets the precedent for like Shadow and his
literally too. Right away, I started crying. The second there was flashbacks with Maria with them running, and I was like, oh.
Well, dude, before that, the first thing it starts with, and obviously if you care about this stuff, like you hear she's playing guitar, and you hear like dun 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 dun, and everyone that knows and that there's like
No, it's powerful. Now, I just want to preface this, by the way. I have no real major critiques with this movie. I'm not going to be like a stinky Sonic fan. I will just say, by the way, first off, I think everyone here recommends go see this movie, and also,
of course,
go in being open to change. If you go in being a purist, you're going to just disappoint yourself. Don't go in being a purist. Just expect some changes. But I am going to say this. I do have small nitpicks here and there. And I do have one nitpick actually right here at this scene.
Right at the beginning.
They talk about like somebody hacking the system, and it shows Eggman's logo. But then Eggman is just like not doing anything. So I was just like,
because it's Gerald, right? Because remember the idea is Gerald is stealing his stuff, right? Because he steals the egg bots. It is Gerald. It is Gerald.
Yeah. That's
So but then I thought about it. I was like, wow. So he was just let out by gun, and then immediately just hacked him. And, you know, it's not really a critique. It's more like the first viewing, I was confused. I was like, wait a minute. Like, then how did he get out? You know what I said? That type of thing. But anyways, yeah, Shadow breaks out. You get that cool ass shot of him like skating like on the water. Like that's probably the cleanest like animation.
Well, even before that, I like that shot where like it's raining. He's standing on the cliffside before he starts running, and he sees Japan. Fire. Yeah.
And then
so I have a question, and maybe it's because I forget. Gerald Robotnik, he's like held captive by gun and forced to make weapons, right? Yeah. How does he get out?
The Ark. We'll talk about that. I have that written down in my bullet points. But just to jump ahead here, he created the Ark, and that's how he gets out. They let him out by him.
Oh, they let him out. Okay.
He made a deal.
Yeah, he made like a deal.
Is that to build them an ultimate weapon for his?
I didn't know he got let out.
Yeah, he was just let out, which is like
makes sense.
It makes sense, but it's also like Gunn is stupid as fuck in this movie, dude.
It's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
I feel like so my main gripes, and we will get into this as we like go through the plot beats, but like I feel like some of the motives of certain things are a bit weak and don't make a lot of sense. Like that's one of them. Like why would you let Gerald Robotnik out? Like he's able to build death machines and like hack your stuff.
I will say this right out of the gate. Because I said, like, I'm open to change, and, you know, I enjoyed the movie. I really did. But definitely when you compare it to how the games did tell the story, you will notice, like, the games will make more sense than the movie.
Right.
It does feel like the movie's trying to make it work based off the universe they built. So we'll go into that. So we'll jump to Bearth Day. And you get that like race against them. And I just gotta say this right now: the interaction between Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles in this movie throughout the whole movie is my favorite part of this movie. Just Team Sonic and the way they interact, and Tails was like a highlight. Like I really like Tails and Knuckles. Yeah. And Knuckles was making me laugh.
Knuckles is amazing, I
think very specifically, Tails and Knuckles had good synergy, like really good synergy. Yes. Like even without Sonic, I think they have really good synergy. Where I think in the games they kind of lack that. Like everyone is kind of like if you had kind of like a tree, right? Like a diagram where Sonic is at the top and everyone branches off of him, but not towards one another.
Yeah.
I feel like in the movies the characters bounce off each other more. I think the writing and like their banter is really good.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like we haven't really, I mean, besides a little bit of some side dialogue in Frontier's Final Horizon, you don't really get Team Sonic interacting a lot, you know, since like maybe Heroes. And so it got me thinking like, man, I do want a journey where it's like them together because they really are like a fun dynamic.
Yeah, in this movie universe, I think it just does such a good job with that. And it's like, it's definitely like scratching that itch that I just had for so long to see like that like the Team Sonic and I love it. I think this universe definitely owns that. They did amazing. So they have that race, and you know they do that little that Bearth Day for Sonic, and then the gun helicopter comes, and this is where we get introduced to Commander Rockwell. I'm gonna just say it right out of the gate. I know a lot of people have this opinion. I think she was probably the weakest. Surprisingly, like
she was a bit pointless.
It was like pointless. Like she's not like bad. Like I'm not like saying like this show situation, but she was like she didn't really have anything going. I was expecting more out of her because I saw her in the posters and she's in like the Sega Genesis cartridge. So I was expecting more out of her.
It's weird because upon rewatches, I feel like she bothers me less because I'm like, okay, she kind of just did her thing and dipped. But yeah, and also looking back to, she was like in zero trailers because I remember being like, well, I have no idea who she is. But I agree with you that like they set her up to kind of be this like
something mysterious.
Like sort of the gun. It feels like she's built to be the thing that turns Gun against Sonic, right?
Right.
Because when she grabs the picture, she's like, I knew they couldn't be trusted.
Right.
And so I took that as the Sonic Adventure 2 thing where like that's how Gun turns on Team Sonic.
Right off the gate. Right off the gate, Sonic is like working with Gun, which is the complete opposite of the games. Yeah. So like it makes sense that you would need some reason to like switch that kind of like relationship. But I do think it was like, you know, it was built off of a misunderstanding. I guess like in the games, it's also off of a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Sonic is being framed for like what Shadow did.
A funny misunderstanding too, because they accuse him of being Shadow and they look nothing alike.
They don't do that in this movie, right? Like there's no mistaking Sonic for Shadow.
There's none of that.
Nothing like that. Like it's pretty. It's a lot.
Which wouldn't have made sense.
That's honestly like where like right away when you could tell like this definitely decides to do its own thing. But yeah, so we get Commander Rockwell. They say there's a problem in Tokyo, so they jump in the helicopter. They go, and this is where you get that really funny first interaction with the crew, where it's like,
well, even before that, right? You get the shot of Shadow walking in the rain in Shibuya, seeing that he's been stuck he's like, it's a 2024.
One of my favorite scenes that I think we kind of, I think at this point we kind of skipped over it, but one of my favorite things is when Sonic brings donut lure to his like little hidey hole he had.
Yes.
And he looks at him and he's like, man, like I would have been a different hedgehog like if it weren't for you. And it cuts to his shadow immediately. That was awesome. That was such a cool.
It's so good. It was a cool good.
It should have cut to ugly Sonic.
Well, it even like I even felt bad for Shadow in that scene because like he's walking in the ring, guns all around him, and he's like, "Why won't you leave me alone?" Like like, he's only attacking because they're on him.
I legitimately thought it was going to be at that moment. I was like, "Oh man, it's just gonna be like they're just gonna be relentless the whole movie. They're gonna keep like following him and shit like that." But yeah, no, like it was like that was like a depressing scene. And that was, I think, the second time I cried. Like I did feel really bad for
that. Gave me chills. That definitely gave me chills.
Yeah. By the way, can I just say too, overall, because I know we're jumping all over the place, but that's kind of the point of this.
Yeah, which is normal.
The animation for this movie, I fucking love.
So good.
It's so good. I was watching clips of Sonic movie 2. And I didn't realize how weird Sonic might actually look in some shots until I saw this movie. This movie, they took so much time in the framing and his facial animations, and same with like all the characters. And Shadow looks so good in that scene, specifically with the rain. You
really, Shadow, perfect.
The fur texture with the rain.
Yeah,
it's so good, and I really hope moving forward maintains this level of quality. It's insane.
I feel like when I was watching it, it's like they've learned a lot more of like the game movement. Like you see, like when Sonic's running against, like, for example, Shadow, or even during the race, it's not just like running. It's like, okay, he does the grind, okay, he does the swing on a tree, right? He does a drop dash, right? Like he'll turn on a wall. Like it's super dynamic and way more in line with like how you think Sonic runs around,
Yeah.
Which is so good. Because in the first movie, I remember the chase with Eggman. It's like, it's kind of just like him running a lot. That's it, Whereas, and movie 2, like it's mainly fighting with Knuckles and like he does some cool shit. But here, like it just felt like really the dynamic camera with the movement stuck out a lot more.
Yeah.
All of the fight choreography in general was like phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely like a step above the last movie. And I even think the last movie was good. I think Sonic's fight with Knuckles was like super cool, but like, dude, some of the fight scenes in this movie.
Yeah. And, and in fact, let's go into it too. We have that helicopter scene with Team Sonic and the banter between them with Knuckles being like Team Knuckles, and it was just really funny.
Yeah.
And then you get the iconic line, the no food or movies. I'm out.
I'm so happy they did it.
Yeah.
That's all I heard that. I'm like, you're good, you did it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's funny because like in a lot of movies or cases, you would be like, that wouldn't work, but because like movie Sonic is silly, he would say something like that,
Yeah.
It worked out so well. And I was just happy. I was like, thank you. This is like my helicopter scene, and they do like a good job of like, obviously it's not as cool as him, taking a piece of it and like flying all the way down, but they did a sick job with like the 1OK KO song playing as they're like, and they're diving down. Sick. And then Neon Lights. Yeah, that was a sick way to do it.
That was a great. So I've been listening to it too ever since. But yeah, no. So they have that, and they land in Shibuya, and Knuckles gets absolutely clapped, just like in the trailers. In this one, he just keeps on getting like all the way up. It was crazy.
Well, if you notice, right, when they first talk to Shadow, right, and they have that interaction where it's sort of meant to be like the faker scene, right, where he's just like, why do you look like me? He's like, I don't look like you. Why do you look like me? And he's like, I asked the questions here. And what I liked about this is Shadow didn't want to attack them. He saw that they came out of a gun helicopter, because he says like, you guys came out of a gun helicopter. There's nothing to talk about.
I mean, Knuckles was the one that threw the first punch. So
yeah.
So it's Knuckles' fault.
It is Knuckles' fault. All of this.
But no, like it was really cool. It was really cool seeing that, and I think that's when you realize like just there was something here with the storyboard artist or whoever was in charge of like the framing. It's just so much better. It really feels like a shonen anime. The way
almost every shot you can pause it and make it a screensaver because of the composing. And
I can't wait for this movie on digital, dude, because so many shots are good.
So, now, at the end of the fight, Shadow looks behind. He gets on the motorcycle. He looks behind Sonic. He says like some line, and then like he has the gun and everything.
Yeah, he says weakling, bro.
Yeah, no.
Oh, that was.
I'm so glad he shoots the gun. Because it was one thing.
So let's go into that chase, right? So like he starts like using the gun and was like using it for a while, like shooting it at Sonic.
Yeah.
Right, because I feel like there must be some kind of mandate where Sega doesn't want Shadow to have a gun anymore, and like, okay, whatever. But I don't know. I think the movies just have power to ignore those mandates, and they're like, no, this is like kind of raw, and
it was a zapper, yeah.
Like I do hear a lot of people saying like, oh well, you know, don't make it like an actual like Glock, like just give him like some kind of like, sci-fi laser gun. Just make it look like.
I'm with you, dude. Like Shadow using weaponry, like I feel like obviously for a long time it was a meme. It's like it's cool because especially like with the motorcycle, it's not just motorcycle. He fuses it with his chaos energy. Like you see the motorcycle get powered up, and so I think like you could do a lot of cool shit with that.
Yeah.
I do think that like, you know, you can make the same argument with the motorcycle. Like why does he need a motorcycle? You can just run. But it's because it looks cool.
Yeah.
Why does he need a gun? You can use Chaos Spear because it looks cool. It just looks awesome.
It looks cool, yeah.
And then
looks cool.
You got that Akira slide up the fucking building, which is just like
so good, bro.
Up the tower. That's fucking wild.
I think we saw that scene in the trailers. And that was like, you know, super memorable and everyone was screen capping it and everything. But what I didn't realize until I watched the movie is he was doing it up
vertically.
A freaking skyscraper.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was vertical. I mean, I'm sure if you like paused it and went frame by frame, you could see it was like windows or whatever, but like I didn't notice that.
It's
so
crazy.
that like caught me off guard. That was a cool twist.
Yeah. And actually, it was that moment where I was like, oh my God, this is it's the same tower that's why they have the
so
tower
raw.
in Sonic X Shadow Generations. Like,
it's so raw too because like when they're bumping into each other, Sonic's like spin dashing into his wheel, and it just looks so anime. It's so cool.
Yeah. But by the way, that's also when I realized too the spin dash effect, like the effects, just the way they animate Sonic, just looks so much better than it's ever been. And that spin dash effect just looked insane. So you got the Akira slide, and then you know Sonic gets knocked the fuck out, and then he wakes up, and they end up going to the Chao Garden.
Cute.
You know, we always make jokes about, you know, we need to have a Chao Garden mobile game. You want to have some real money? Make a Chao Garden Chuck E. Cheese ass restaurant. I swear to God, like, I'll buy the plane ticket the next day. Like I'll be going there.
I would love that. They have to now. I feel like they gotta.
Now, can we talk about the funniest fucking death I've ever seen in the Sonic series? Commander Walters.
Did he die? Did he actually die?
I don't know. Is he like for sure?
I think he's dead. I think he's dead.
I feel like he might not be dead though, because
I'm with Chao.
Rockwell saw him in the hallway, and even though he was a fake, she wasn't like, "Hey, how are you alive?" She was like, "Oh, you're like back. You're awake." So I feel like he's probably just like out cold the whole movie. I feel like he didn't die. Maybe he did die though.
It though. He took his last breath and literally stopped breathing.
He definitely did.
And he's like, "Oh, Commander Walter." Like, no, he died. Like he's dead.
Yeah. I guess because when she takes the picture from his body, she's not like taken to the hospital. She's just kind of all right.
That's where I thought.
I feel like it's a little ambiguous.
Like she wanted the power he had or something. I don't know. So like, let's go into that real quick. So. Before he dies, he gives Shadow's backstory, and that's when you learn that Shadow kind of came in Goku style. He just came in on a little pod, a little meteor, and they were using his chaos energy as a means for just energy. You know what I mean?
Weapons, energy,
weapons. And then, you know, they have the little backstory. They didn't go into like all the details, but that's when, you know, he said there was just an accident, and you get that shot where Gerald is arrested, and you could tell there's a detail on here. He keeps one of Shadow's quills.
Yeah, he has the quill.
There is a cut scene where it explains why Gerald is still alive, and he's been using the Shadow quill. Him zapping himself is what keeps him alive. I wish they kept that in the movie in some form. It was alluded to lightly, but I did have that question when in my first viewing, especially when they have the flashback. I was like, why is he old 50 years ago?
I just chalked it up because he mentions he's like 120 years old or something.
110,
something crazy like that. I figured, you know, he's a smart guy. He probably just has some kind of thing that keeps him
I also
alive.
think they didn't need to, like, it is weird. They could have done like a younger Gerald, and then like they could have just had him be like, I'm 80 now. You know, I would have bought that. He didn't have to be like 110.
Yeah.
But like, it's whatever. So like, so there's a detail there where he had Shadow's quill. and then they place Shadow into stasis because apparently, so according to Walters, which I do like his reasoning, very military, very much like totally realistic, like, oh, he's too dangerous to be let out, but he's too valuable to kill, so we're gonna save it. You know what I mean?
Interesting thing here, like, do we think, because I was talking about this on my own thing, do we think that they left the door slightly open for Black Doom? Because like he comes from like a black comet, right? And that took me as like, okay, he's a full alien.
I think like so. He's right. I think that they kind of did leave the door open for that because he's like this evil alien coming out of this comet. Is probably like a shard of the black comet. Maybe in like a future movie, probably I don't know if it would be like 4, but maybe a side series or TV show.
Yeah, I think
or maybe
cool.
Sonic movie 5.
I think that'd be cool to like go into Shadow's backstory a bit in the movie universe, because he was questioning that in his premiere.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know where I'm from. I don't know what I am. And I was expecting the song "What Am I" from Shadow the Hedgehog to start playing at that moment.
Yeah.
But no, it did look very Black Comet like. So it is an interesting change where now I do want to go into this. It is like a small critique where I do feel like I kind of wish there was more, they showed more of a dynamic between Shadow and Gerald.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Clearly in this movie, Maria is not sick.
There's no illness.
But they do build Maria up more than the games did, which I do like. But she's not sick. So because she's not sick, they weren't really, that's why Shadow was called the ultimate life form in the games, is because they're trying to find a cure for Maria. So he's still called the ultimate life form in here, but he's not really used for that.
Because he's basically a Duracell.
Now it's because he's cool.
A Duracell battery.
Rabbit.
Now, I will say, like, am I entirely a fan of that? It's like, I don't really care too much, but I do agree with some people where it does kind of soften it a little bit. I did like that dynamic between Shadow and Maria in the games, because when she dies, and when she dies, it felt like for Shadow, like he failed. Like his sole mission was to save Maria, and he failed. Right.
I do think that's a bit more compelling than like the game's lore versus the movie's lore. I think it's more compelling that like Shadow is created to basically save Maria and find like a cure for his illness, and it gives Gerald a motivation to like do what he does, and it gives Shadow a motivation as to like why he is the way he is as well.
Yeah, I agree. Like game motive is better, but like the way they depict the relationship with Maria and Shadow is really good. I think I agree with you. They could have just done like a scene. When they were doing the flashback, like with Shadow, having all his memories with Maria, where like she gets him out of the lab when he's getting experimented on, or they're like running around those kids. If they had thrown like a scene or two with Gerald like having fun with them or laughing, that would have like done a lot, because like the only time we see Gerald in the past is when they're escaping. When he's like, kids, we gotta go.
Here's a big difference that I noticed is that like in the games, Gerald isn't a bad guy. He's actually he's a good guy. He's a really good guy. He's a family man until they kill Maria. Then he's bad. But I feel like Gerald in the movies, he's bad, right? He works for gun. He's trying to power military weapons. He steals Shadow's quill. I think so. Okay, we do eventually see, and I think it's probably around this point in the movie where we see this flashback of Gerald, or I guess maybe it's later in the movie, but like you see him like trying to leave the facility with Maria and Shadow.
Yeah, that's the one time we see.
But we could still talk about it. It's fine.
That's when he reveals. That's when like
they're on the Ark. Shadow, right? Like, what is he trying to do, or is he trying to just escape? Like, he said
they're trying to take Shadow away from us, Maria.
Yeah,
but like that felt like a lie.
That's when they want to seal Shadow. Like that's when the thing about Commander Walters saying like we had to seal him.
So I think this is where the confusion comes from. That line with him saying they're trying to steal Shadow away from us to Maria, that felt like something you would hear in the game version, because he needs Shadow to save Maria. He needs Shadow. Right. But in this version, you don't really see that. You never see Gerald really in the picture back then. So I think that's where that confusion comes from a little bit with that.
I think maybe I was confused because like even after that, you see Gerald with the quill, like he was trying to get Shadow's powers for himself or something. So I thought maybe like he was trying to steal him. But I guess like maybe Gerald and Shadow did have like a special bond, and like the three of them, Shadow, Maria, and Gerald, it would make more sense for Gerald to like try to save Shadow for Maria's sake.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like cut content, like especially when the Blu-ray version comes out, like with movie 2 and movie 1. We usually see that type of stuff. I would not be. I am certain there's probably like a decent amount of like flashback or maybe Gerald stuff that has been cut.
Yeah, I mean they cut the fat on the movie. I mean the movie is the shortest. It's shorter than 2. You know, it's a movie that goes. I think they didn't want to do anything for too long.
They didn't want to have like a. I think they heard the feedback from like the wedding scene. They wanted to,
they were terrified.
I won't lie though. I think the length of this movie is really good. I never felt the length this time. I did feel the length of the movie too. But because this movie was so good, I actually wouldn't have minded if it stayed a little.
I know,
more.
Yeah.
I think, especially towards the beginning, it's like go, scene change. Like you get like a small snippet of backstory, and then it's like bam, onto the next scene.
Yeah,
I feel like it was really quick. Like the pacing was really quick.
Yeah, everything is go.
It is
right.
pretty quick.
I would have appreciated like a little bit more drawn out scenes, especially for the backstories.
Yeah,
so I feel like that establishes the motives, and I just feel like in general the motives for the villains is kind of weak. It's a bit weak in my opinion. That's like my main gripe with the movie.
I think it's like I think a lot of this comes down to them trying to fit this into the movie universe because of the built up. So like you'll see a lot of these changes and just them trying to fit as much as they can, but they don't always go too deep into it because they want to keep going. It is an interesting compromise. But yeah, so just to jump back on track real quick. So we have Rockwell. She like has that picture like you mentioned. Like she doesn't get Sonic.
Can I jump off track for 1 second?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
It's in this scene, like in the Chao Garden. Something I thought of, right? Like, so they have the Chao in this movie, and they're like little mascots, and they're cute and everything. And I thought that was really funny. I'm like, like I don't know how they would have done like little alien baby creatures in the Sonic universe. Like having a little mascot thing, cute and cool. Like we get like Chao in the movie. That's fun. Everyone wins. Unless you really think about it. If Chao don't exist in this universe, will we ever get chaos? Has this shut the door for chaos?
See, here's my thing. I took it differently. I took it as they're 100% going to do some funny backstory where like the guy who created the Chao Garden like found the Chao, like it came through one of the portal rings or whatever, and there's some little lore there.
Maybe he based the creatures he saw and made them into mascots. So maybe the Chao are real.
I have a theory that maybe we'll talk about it for movie 4, like my prediction for movie 4. I have a theory about that though, with chaos. But to jump back on track real quick, so we have the crab, and this is where Robotnik is like fat. You know what I mean? He's like watching that soap opera, which is hilarious. By the way,
La última pasión, bro.
that scene killed me. He shaves his real hair, by the way. In that scene, he shaves his real hair, which is super
like he actually grew his hair out.
Yep.
Yeah, and that
he actually grew his hair out.
Yeah, like Lee
That's awesome.
actually shaved his head.
It's crazy.
Cool. And then you have the team up with Robotnik. They go to this old base. So this is where it's interesting. So all those flashbacks back then of Shadow and Gerald and Maria, none of that happened on the Ark. This is just an old
it's all on Earth.
It's all on an old...
It's like a gun facility, right?
Yeah. So, we have the whole crew, going there. And this is where you have Shadow having his first major flashback with Maria.
Yeah.
And this is where we talked about where they have that scene where I really like, compared to the games, they really built up Maria because they have her, they show her like skating, playing music. They're like watching movies. They're looking at the stars.
I mean, I love even just, this is our first time seeing like their intro together. Like when he's in that thing and she draws on him, or like even like he's like smiling and she's like,
she's like making that seems really fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. If you really think about it, in at least Sonic Adventure 2, there's literally only one scene of Shadow and Maria together where they're not like, where she like, besides the one where she like ejects him to Earth, there's literally one scene and it lasts like 15-20 seconds. So like that, like we needed more of that. I think like that really fleshed it out.
And there was this after that flashback. There's this one. It's probably one of my favorite shots of the movie. Was they're looking at the stars. You hear the cheery music, and then you see the same record. Now it's old, just cuts. Yeah, it's like a record scratch. And you see Shadow in the room alone, and I fucking bawled. Like I actually started crying.
It's cool.
Like, damn, bro. That was really a really powerful transition. I just really respect.
Well, What's cool is like one of the shots is from Shadow Dark Beginnings. I guess this is just like a thing now. Though they did the white flower field thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which now has been in Dark Beginnings and this. That was never like a thing before. So I like that this is like one of their big lore things from the past where they used to just go to this like garden in this like auditorium, whatever, planetarium or whatever it was, and they just hung out there. I love that. It makes things way more depressing. Anything I see in that white flower field is so sad.
Yeah. No. Next time Shadow sees a white flower, he's gonna just start crying.
Wasn't there also I feel like there were 3 really, really powerful transitions in the movie. And the first one was the one I mentioned earlier where Sonic was like, yeah, I'd be like a much different hedgehog if it weren't for you. And then it cuts to Shadow. Gone. That one like really hit me.
The cinematography in this it's just like
it was really good. And I don't know if this is the same one that you were just talking about, Sam, but there's also the one where it shows like the stasis pod or something, and then it like flashes to when it's like destroyed.
The broken one,
broken one.
It's about
is that the same?
It's about the same. Yeah, I think that's like the same flashback where he's like in that same room, and then it's like all old now, and
that was like an incredible.
That's when Gerald shows up.
That was awesome.
Very powerful scene. So then, you got the crew kind of walking through. I really like the dynamic where he's like,
so good.
With the bright furry, fur, you guys go to the left, and me and Scott will go to the right. And it's like, I really liked. I kind of want more.
Good dynamics.
I know it's because we don't know if spoiler. We don't know if Jim Carrey's going to turn, or we don't know if Eggman's going to be in the next movie. But I was like, I really like what we're doing here. The way
they did it like the games.
It's Sonic.
They did it like the games, like because we've often in this series had Eggman having to work with Sonic, and it's always like very begrudgingly, and they kept that same energy that I really like.
Porcupine, very clever, like very clever. Really offended by that. But no, that shit was funny, and then Knuckles with Casper.
So good. What a good way also to link Sonic Adventure 2. With the ghost.
I thought of that immediately.
I love that. So good. It's like little stuff like that where it's like, okay, you can't have
that is
the
because
pyramid
that's
level.
Such a small detail of Knuckles' characters that he's afraid of ghosts. And they were able to like link that. That was really funny.
So good.
Then you have the scene with Agent Stone and Tails, and he's like, I'm sorry, like you're
adorable.
You're absolutely adorable. That was so funny.
So and they're each getting scared by him, which is really cool. And then you even have like Eggman and Sonic's dynamic, where they're looking through the room. And he sees the picture of Shadow and Maria, and even like him saying like, "What would you have done if you weren't full supervillain?" He's like, "The Robotnik name ends with me. I'm unappealing to every single gender."
Both genders. I was like, whoa.
He didn't even say both. He said every. He said every possible gender. Which I was like, damn, bro.
That's fucking crazy. There's a lot of jokes in this movie, by the way.
There's really good jokes.
Fuck, and we'll get into them. I have them written down. But
they go crazy.
So in that flashback, or right after this, when Gerald pops up, this is where he reveals that he was let out by Gunn. He was released by Gunn in exchange for the Ark. So it's a very interesting change, because the first thing he says is like, I exchanged my freedom for this weapon, and my first target is going to be Gunn headquarters. So like literally they're so dumb. They released him and he's going to blow them up now. Like they're crazy. Anyway, so you got the scene where they're so Sonic and Knuckles, they're tied up, they escape through the ring, and they dip out on the crab. You got that Robotnik bonding scene. I think honestly, so this is something my family members actually mentioned when they watched the movie.
How do we feel about it? The dynamic with Eggman and Gerald.
I will say, I think a lot of scenes with Eggman and Gerald are funny and entertaining. I think that flashback with them bonding is the only one where, I'll be honest, I didn't really laugh. I don't know if it was like supposed to be funny where they were like bonding like back then when they was like riding.
I thought it was fast enough to not matter. Like it was like 40-second joke.
It wasn't like you're breaking the pace of the movie. This isn't like a wedding situation.
Thank God they just did it that quick. Like it wasn't actually them going around.
I think it was just so surreal compared to the rest of the movie. And I get that it was in VR, but like you don't find out it's VR until like halfway through it, where you see them in the headset, and it's like, what is going on? They're just like
feeling left out.
I thought it was some weird like Family Guy cutaway gag because like obviously like the Christmas scene and everything like that didn't really happen. Like why are they showing this? Like this is the kind of imaginary like Family Guy cutaway gag, and then you see it's like a VR simulation, which honestly is equally as weird.
It does feel. That's the only one. Because people online know, people are like, why does this movie keep interrupting me with all this cringe shit? I don't really feel that too much, but that is the only moment, that flashback part, where I was like, I didn't really laugh, but I didn't really mind it either. So it just kind of felt like that scene was like the only one. The
only one I genuinely like did not like, and we're flashing later to the movie, right? Where it's like they're doing that thing where they're like poking at each other. We'll talk about that
because I have that written down
what
in
are we
my notes.
doing, bruh?
Yeah, I have that written down in my notes. It's more of a missed opportunity. We'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
So you got that so they have their like bonding moment. Stone gets jealous, and then we cut to like the characters teaming up with Tom and Maddie. Can I just fucking say, by the way,
love that.
I love I love Tom and Maddie, and Tom in this movie is fucking hilarious.
So funny.
I don't know what the fuck. Like he's completely different. Like,
dude, like
the puppet shit. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the puppet's so good because he's like, she tells him, like, I told you to get rid of it. And with the puppy, he's like, I told them to get rid of you.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Like, holy fuck. But by the way, he's like acting like a player in this movie with Rockwell. She like turned into Rockwell. He goes,
when she turns to Rockwell, he goes like, oh yeah.
And she just fucking, I was like, Tom, what the fuck? Why would you do that?
Hey, no, to be fair, this is revenge in movie 2, right? She's making comments about how Randall, has all those muscles and stuff, They're one for one now, all right? It's consistent. It's consistent.
I got
I was so happy that because when I watched movie 1 and 2 recently, I'm like, Tom and Maddie are awesome. Yeah. I genuinely love them. I think they're really good. They're funny. They're good parental figures. They're not like the annoying parent that's like, you better not be caught doing this. Like they join in on them. And so having this movie focus on them was super good. And the way they did the fake out with the posters where we thought, there was going to be Randall and Rachel and it was going to be too much. I was like, okay, we'll see. But the way they did it where it's them still, really clever.
The way they did it is really smart. It does leave a question for how they're gonna because you can tell with the writing, you could tell they kind of tried to fit them in, but did it in a way where they're not like intrusive to the story.
Yeah, which is smart.
It was smart, but I am wondering like I don't know how you're gonna do it for like the next movie. Like I'll be real. Like now I'll be honest. I personally like. I really like Tom and Maddie. I think they should stick around. If I don't see like Rachel and Randall, I won't care. I'm just gonna be
that's fine. It felt a bit forced, that part where they're like, let's put like Rachel and Randall in here, and just we gotta get like
characters
in here.
Yeah, I thought it was just the funniest way to do it because Rachel and Randall are entertaining, but they're not like entertaining enough to take time away, and so having it so that it's still Tom and Maddie. And they're technically still applying to the main plot. I thought was really
the way they did it here is really smart. But because it's like, okay, now what's going to be the excuse for the next movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think they need one. I'm with you.
I think the way they did it here is perfect. And I know with like Randall, we'll probably see him. I mean, he's in Gun. We'll probably see him.
Yeah, that's true.
But like, I think like if they are in the movie, they're just they got to be minimal. They got to be minimal.
I think one of my other it's not like a huge problem, but like one of the things I don't love is like how like we get a glimpse of it in the second movie, and it's fine. It's like how like the three Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and then Tom and Maddie, they're all playing baseball, and they make like this like weird like family like human animal family hybrid thing, and it's like it's kind of wholesome, but like we get to see more of it in this movie. And I just think that like they go a bit too far with like, like Tom is like the dad and he's like teaching Sonic like a life lesson. It's very like infantilizing, I think, to Sonic. Like it really, really makes Sonic
what you mean.
He's an 8-year-old, like being parented by his father. I think they lean into that a bit too much. And because we really see it like in this movie where like even Knuckles is like kind of infantilized by being like this
they're
weird, like
teenagers, right?
Thing. They're supposed to be teenagers, but they feel like they're 8 years old and like
actually
having a play date with their friends.
I will say, I
Right.
think I kind of agree with you in that. Like, I felt that with movie 2, like when they were on the boat and the way they talk. But like, I will say this too. I do feel like they were aged up. Like the way they interact.
I agree.
I do feel like they're a little bit older in this movie, compared to like other ones. I don't really get it too much where it's like he feels too much like a kid or he's being like babied, I guess you could say. I did feel that with movie 2, but I do feel like this one is a little less so.
Well, you can tell they're a bit older because in movie 2, the whole thing was that Tom was like, you can't just go running around and doing shit.
Yeah.
You know? That I agree with you. He gets grounded. Whereas like in this one, Gunn just shows up and like they're okay with him working for the military, essentially.
Like trying to manage the team now. You know, be the leader.
Yeah. But I see what you mean, Chamix, where in general, like the idea of like them having parents makes them less like freedom fighters, you know, in a sense, and more like part of like something smaller. I see what you mean, but I think because Tom and Maddie are like cool with working with them and helping them, I feel like it makes the dynamic a little bit more enjoyable. A bit.
Definitely more
I see what you mean though.
And I'm wondering if like you know, for movie 4, just jump ahead, like if we'll continue to see that build where it's like they continue to get that less parental guidance, you know, over time.
Yeah.
They seem to, every movie, they seem to be kind of weaning them off of like their relationship with the human characters more and more. And I think with movie 4, especially with like, you know, the new characters that we saw at the end, like the more characters, I feel like there's just something about Sonic where people like hate more than like a few characters. I don't know why. Like you go to like an Avengers movie and people celebrate having like 50 something superheroes in it, and it's cool. Like it is cool, but like it's not cool for Sonic for some reason. Like there's just some weird stigma around like Sonic and his friends. But now that we're starting to introduce more friend characters, I feel like they might try to reduce the amount of human characters to balance it out.
That's going to be an unfortunate side effect. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. The more characters we add, we're going to have to.
We have more Sonic characters and less humans, and I think that's kind of what like the Sonic fans want in the end. Yeah, is to just
more of a prioritization of the characters we come to know. Right. But I will say, by the way, speaking of the human characters, I do want to commend Maddie for one thing. Was when they were in the living room and they said, "Hey, we need your help." She literally was like, "Why don't you just go Super Saiyan God mode and go do it?"
Also, really cute in that scene when she says that. You see the character select from Mania. Yeah. Where she's, I don't know if you guys know, it's specifically the Mania character select and she chooses Sonic in it, which I thought was really cute.
Yeah. But I do like the reasoning. They're like, we decided, like, you know, we're not going to always do that. Like, it's,
yes.
The Master Emerald's too powerful, it needs to be protected. And I like, now Knuckles has become the protector of the Emerald. I like that.
I love that a lot.
I
like that a lot. I liked it a lot. But they do something, and we'll get into it, that I really dislike.
Oh, you dislike that one?
Like, basically, they set the whole thing up, and then they just throw it out.
We'll talk about that. But yeah, so we go to London, to the gun base. Revenge Guac, all that shit, that's really funny.
Revenge Guac.
You got that Randall and Rachel Discount already talked about in the computer room.
I like the, when Sonic, this is a hard one to catch. City Escape, right? So they say City Escape is in the movie. A lot of people are struggling to find it. The riffs of it are playing when Sonic's running around London. Really? So if you guys go on the soundtrack and listen to the song, I think it's called, what is it called? Like Egg Command or Egg Control or something, or Gun Control. It's the song when he's running through London, you hear like dun 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 dun, and like you hear riffs. Yeah, so it's like orchestrated riffs of City Escape there,
that's one which is really cool. Moments. I feel like that shouldn't have been such an Easter egg thing. I really wish I heard.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, just in general, I really appreciated the more musical.
Oh, yes. We gotta talk about
100%. Yeah.
The music in this is so much fucking
infinitely better.
Even though, like, outside of, you know, their live and learns in this movie, but like outside of that, outside of like the references,
it's so good.
Sounds very specifically when you first see Shadow, that track that plays, it sounds like it's straight out of Sonic X, like Japanese.
Yeah. Well, in general, Live and Learn obviously plays later, but Live and Learn is also a motif that plays in the movie. Like when Shadow beats Knuckles, you hear like dun 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 dun, or like anytime a big major thing, even when we'll get to it later, Super Sonic and Super Shadow are fighting, you hear riffs of it when they're fighting each other. It's not just when the song blatantly plays. Like it's very cool. And this is something that Tyson told me when I hung out with him at the movie thing. Is this time around he asked Jeff if he could work with Junkie on the soundtrack, because he told him like score is really important to me, and all the songs on the soundtrack, if you notice, they're all quotes from Sonic Adventure 2. That's all him. And so you can definitely tell that he wanted to do everything. And it's funny, he's like the times you don't hear a song is you can tell that licensing is a bitch. He said, like, I'm sure you noticed this week with the Johnny stuff with Crush 40 and Live and Learn, like all the music and sounds, like you'd be surprised how many people are involved in all that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you can tell the music definitely had an improvement. I guess, I'm happy Junkie got some help from Tyson, and I hope that continues. I really think they need to continue to lean into that. But yeah, so to go back to the computer scene, they do the little flash drive, they get it in there, do the little 90s joke. And then Tails gets a moment where he flushes out the crab. I thought that was so cool. Was like, Shadow.
Remember before he flushes the crab, Shadow's watching the show and he's just like, Gabriella should kill them both. She's not a prize to be won. I love that.
But yeah, no, Tails flushes out the crab, and then at that moment you got that insane Eggman dance, which I like the dance. Like usually I thought the dance sequences in the movies were like kind of obnoxious. This one,
out of all three movies, that's like the best one by far.
This is the best one.
I immediately, I didn't even question it because I know they're like, oh, the lasers can't penetrate our suit. We're gonna completely ignore the fact the lasers are going through their heads the whole time.
Dude, that bothered me so much. Like I could suspend or suspension of disbelief. Like okay, but like it bothered me. It's like they have these like laser-proof suits, but like their heads, like it just so happens they never touch their heads.
Yeah, it's such a wacky dance. It was really entertaining. Actually, I do want to say right after the dance, this is so funny. So this is when we get to the gravity room, when they get to the thing. There's a detail I noticed, especially on like my third viewing. Sonic, when he gets there, he's like, hold it, Egghead, or whatever. He's doing the Sonic Adventure pose. Did anyone notice that? He's
really dynamic. Where like
he's like doing this. Yeah. It's exact. Like I looked it up. He's doing it straight out of the art. Like I can't wait for this to come on Blu-ray because I can't wait to.
You're right.
Like it's really
because he like bumps into the wall. I like the little sort of bounce effect, or like he runs, he bounces on the wall, and then he like gets into.
And he's like this, and he's literally doing it. I'm like that's literally the DX.
You're right. You're right. Like when.
Clean.
Yeah, so or like even the idle animation, right? In Adventure, he's just like this.
It's literally, it's 1-to-1, and I think it is actually one of my favorite shots of Sonic in the whole movie. It's insane. He looks so good.
It's so good.
So yeah, you get the gravity room scene. And Rockwell reveals that she like expected this. She like expected them for everyone to meet here. She was planning on like arresting like the robot. And I guess she was planning on arresting Sonic too, but she didn't really say that. And that's when like Knuckles comes in saving the day. I love Knuckles in this.
In that scene, you have like the anti-gravity stuff, and they do the bit where like the giant boulder's gonna fall. Sonic does the spin dash to break it.
That shit looks so clean, so clean.
It's clean. I would say it's like of all the set, I don't even know if you'd call it a set piece. It's like the least eventful one, right? Where it's like they're sliding to get the key. And then, like, in the meantime, like, which is funny, but it's definitely like the least action, just like a little set piece, because obviously right after is when stuff locks in.
Yeah.
But
the teeth coming out of Gerald in the middle.
Yeah, so Jesus.
Can we talk about that's the joke? We gotta talk about the joke. The fucking joke.
Oh my God.
Dude, where Rockwell walks in, Eggman's like, I can't believe this. I know. A woman in the military. I
crazy.
Actually fucking
the theater was dying
in my seat. I'm not gonna lie. Like that was so out of pocket. I never thought about that. I was like, he is from like
he is.
60s and shit. So, he would be
crazy.
So fucking bigoted like that. Like, goddamn, I never thought about it like that.
I would love to think he improv that. I genuinely hope he improv that line. Even them like sliding to the key. I thought that was pretty funny. Like them trying to get to it. Also, nice little detail. You know when they do the USB thing? Where Tails puts his USB and then they see Eggman have a counter USB. The Eggman key is the one from Sonic Adventure 2. when you're collecting the keys.
Yeah, that's really funny.
It's the exact same one.
It looked familiar. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I was like, this is the key.
But yeah, so let's jump ahead here a little bit. So, this is when Tom decides to trick Rockwell. He gets like,
clever way to do it.
They fucking tricked me in this movie. When it happened, and because I already was like, oh fuck, we already saw a death on screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When he changed back into the commander and Shadow jumps through, I literally was like, oh shit, like this is how they're gonna get rid of the humans, aren't they? Like they're gonna fucking kill Tom. Like I thought it. I actually, for some reason,
you thought.
I genuinely thought, I was like, oh god, like Tom might actually be like rest in peace. You know what I mean? So yeah, he gets fucking fake killed,
cooked.
And I guess that scene where Sonic's like, Tom wake up, and then you get that shot again with the cinematography. You see Shadow looks at Sonic, and it reminds him of Maria.
Yeah,
he was looking over Maria. Again, the cinematography in this is like
so good,
so amazing. So we jump ahead here. Tom is not waking. That's the part where I was like, you can tell, but even by his face and the music and the way it's shot, it's like gray. I'm like, I think they actually killed. Like, that's where I was like, oh my god, I think they.
I also thought for a second that like they might have killed him.
Yeah, they might have.
I for me it was one of those things like I was like right, he's just heavily injured. He's knocked out. They're not gonna. They can't do it because they're family friendly movies. And like that's a character they've like built a lot, and I don't think they would do it. Sadly,
I felt like a goof. I'm like, of course, like I don't know why.
Yeah,
but I guess the way it was shot, the way it was.
It was just the music and the shot and everything.
So good.
I legitimately was like, like, are they actually gonna do it? Because some people,
I think all that matters.
Some people were saying that Tom might get killed in this movie. I was like, I don't know, you guys are crazy. And then that scene happened.
Yeah.
Oh shit, they're probably right.
I remember people talking about that too, because they were also saying like, it would make sense, like, this would be how they kind of like branch off from the human characters. I remember reading, I'm like, they wouldn't do that. And then they play the scene. I'm like, dude, are they gonna? Did they do that?
Yeah.
Like, are they gonna do that?
What's so awesome here, and I love this, is a lot of people have their criticism with movie Sonic being like a little jokester and stuff. Also, shout out when he's running in London, he does the Beatles album cover thing, really cool. I love that the movie Sonic can be like, he can be silly, but from that point to the end, it's lock in a clock. Like he is locked in. He makes no jokes as Super trying for the most. But like he's ready to square up with Knuckles. I was like, oh damn, okay.
That was an insane. That was a very.
So cool.
Dude, shout out to Knuckles though, where he was like, he did it. He's like, I'm gonna like not. Yeah. I'm not gonna fight you. You know what I mean?
I love that. Like seeing them both charged up. Knuckles like, you are in no position to make decisions. Like, chill out. You're not even Sonic gets mad at Tails.
Where he was like, he's like, don't do this. And like his voice is so deep. I was like, ooh.
So good.
Wish that they went in on that all the way. Because
they fought.
I was mentioning this earlier. I thought it was cool how they kind of make Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles basically like the guardians of the Master Emerald, and they have this pact to not use it because it's too powerful and it can fall into the wrong hands. And that's exactly what happens, basically, is that like Sonic gets angry and like Knuckles lets him do it. I thought that was such wasted potential. And it's like, I usually hate like the threads on Twitter that's like, this is like out of character because like this and this and this. But like probably one of the most out of character things for Sonic is that Sonic is this uncorruptible being, right?
Yeah.
And Sonic Unleashed, like he turns into the werehog, but he has control over it because he's uncorruptible. You cannot corrupt Sonic. That's why Dark Sonic is like not canon and kind of weird because it's like Sonic being corrupted. It's not like Sonic is uncorruptible. So him like wanting revenge and like using the Master Emerald and breaking his pact with his best friends so he can get his revenge was probably the most out of character thing I've ever seen Sonic do in almost any piece of media.
I'm gonna argue. I'm gonna argue that. So I get what you mean. Like he is uncorruptible, but
he could have gotten the Emerald or Super in a better way.
Yeah. To be fair, though, in the end, he still is uncorruptible because like he still had the moment to do revenge near the end, and he decides not to. You know what I mean? I think it's just one of those. I think it's like they took it as a character building moment where they're like, he's playing with the idea of like he's out of the gate, he's not perfect. So they did this to kind of like learn that, and for him to learn like not to do revenge. I don't mind that direction though. I don't really mind that they like.
I had a pretty big issue with it. I thought it was like so different than what Game Sonic would have ever done.
We need a Chao Mix video on.
Yeah, we did. I was kind of thinking about doing something.
You should.
I see what you mean, right? Like we're like, yeah, it's very different. I think my thing is that it's like you said, it's like this fits into the movie universe where yes, they're guardians of the Master Emerald, but in this movie universe, they're also siblings. And so you think of your sibling, right? Where you're arguing with them about like, don't make this dumb decision, right? But you don't want to like get aggressive, right? And so you're like, you know what? Like you do what you got to do, you know, but you're going to have to deal with the consequences. Obviously.
I think Knuckles should have somehow talked him down, and they should have, I don't know, there should have been some other like excuse for them to go super instead of like Knuckles and Sonic having a conflict and then Sonic just superseding Knuckles and basically breaking their pact. Because I thought that was really cool, because that's like not really something in the games, is where like they're kind of like these guardians of the Emerald. They don't do that in the games, so like it makes sense in the movies because the Emerald is also the Chaos Emeralds. They can like break apart into all of them. It's all like one thing, and they like guard it.
I think that's like
I thought that was kind of interesting that they like broke it immediately.
It's a theme with this movie where Sonic in this movie is not a good team player. Like he's broke off for his pack, I think 3 times. So it's like it happened. You know, it's happened like multiple times. But I think we'll learn to appreciate. For me, I think it's the same reason I had a problem with like Eggman in movie 1 and movie 2. I think when we see that evolution of the character and he actually turns into that character that we come to know and love, I learn to appreciate those different moments. I'm wondering maybe if movie 4, if he is like that team player the way we expect, and he's, you know, come to like the way we are in the games, maybe we'll, you know, I know for me personally, I don't really get, but like if like maybe people who share that opinion will maybe learn to appreciate those moments where you'll see him learn from those past experiences, and you'll see him grow into that character we come to know and love.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is the movies, Sonic has character arcs where he learns and becomes better by the end.
And Sonic doesn't.
Like a movie, like I get why they did it. Yeah. It gives Sonic a character arc. It teaches him by the end that like he should be a team player and he shouldn't be like, you know, breaking his backs and going off on his own and going off for revenge. He learns all that, and like he shows mercy to Shadow, and he becomes like a better team player by the end. He teams up with Shadow and everything. But yeah, it's just different because in the games, Sonic already knows all that, and he already is kind of the best. Yeah. There's no arc, but like the character arcs aren't about Sonic in the games. They're about like the other people and the people that he affects, and like even his enemies have character arcs, but like never Sonic. So I guess in order to make it more, I guess, like palatable for like a movie audience, they think that like they want Sonic, which is the main character, to be the one having character arcs.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah,
it's not bad, but
yeah, it's definitely different. But yeah, so to jump ahead here, so we got the ARK launch. You got the Robotniks with their new suits where Eggman's fully decked out in his Robotnik.
Plays Eggman's theme, which is really cool, right?
Oh, that was cool.
Cell phone was like...
Well, not just like when they're rising up, like it's straight up Eggman's theme, like dun 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 dun.
When the Eggman theme.
Did you not hear that? It's like the most blatant song. Yeah, no, it's the most blatant.
I missed the Easter egg.
Yeah, that one's not even. That one is like not an Easter egg. That one is the most blatant. Yeah, it is just dun dun.
I'm too motivated that I have to rewatch it again.
I heard it like right away.
Yeah.
Also, the Eggman Land logo. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah. On the roller
coaster. Yeah. Really cool.
Yes, I caught that.
Yeah, no, them going in the sky, and then obviously where Sonic ends up going to get the emerald.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, let's talk about it real quick. So yeah, which by the way, I mean, all right. So Wade had no.
The setup is funny.
And I know people. I saw like reviewers like, oh fuck, it was Wade from the Knuckles Show. Why is he was there for 60 seconds? So even I like.
It was perfect.
I didn't really care. I like Wade in the movies.
Wade is great in 30-second doses. I say that, you know.
So that was their way to bridge the Knuckles show, kind of. Also, we skipped over this. We like didn't mention it, but like when Knuckles gets the permission to go in and break the glass, he uses his like flame fist.
Yeah, the flames is disaster.
So that like
Use it
like if you
in this movie, actually, it's very interesting.
I like that they made a little nod to the Knuckles show, like in case you watched it, but also you don't need to watch it to know anything.
100%.
So that was kind of like a cool little thing, I guess. And then like Wade showing up.
But yeah, Wade
with
the Master Emerald. Yeah, it was
playing hockey.
It was.
They also retconned the Knuckles show.
How so?
So remember in the Knuckles show, the newscasters say like, we haven't had something this eventful since 50 years ago when an alien crash landed in the middle of the bowling event or whatever. Because I'm pretty sure that was the big thing in the Knuckles show where they said like he lands at the bowling event. Yeah, because they very much say like since the alien that landed 50 years ago, and everyone who watches is like, that's a shadow thing.
I'm not gonna lie, I would not be surprised. So I'll say this because you could tell because Wade's in this movie, arguably just as long as like Randall and Rachel, but he had no marketing. So like, I would not be surprised if maybe some changes happen since the Knuckles show. Would not be surprised. I think the way this was done is like perfectly. It didn't really, totally fine. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where like when he said like I left it with like a guardian. I remember.
I love that.
I remember whispering to Kenny. I was like, oh no, like, oh no, and then it cuts.
I'm
like, oh no.
I thought it was either offended by this.
I thought it was gonna be either Wade or their dog.
Yeah,
dude. That shit would be.
That would have been on. But dude, Wade, I'm like, please don't play hockey with the Master Emerald. I was so stressed. But it's like obviously, yeah.
We got to talk about that transformation scene though, when he takes the emerald.
Oh, it just happens.
So first off, it's interesting though. The emeralds are already back in the Master Emerald. I guess.
Yeah, and they like break off.
I guess I like that. Right. It's like you don't have to catch all these MacGuffins every single time. They're all, they're kind of.
Yeah.
And so, Sonic takes the emerald from Raid, and then we get the Shadow flashback. This is where you get the flashback where they show Maria getting killed. I got to talk about this. I have to talk about this. So
I was right.
So they kill Maria. They did it in a very tame way. They didn't shoot her. They blow her up.
She explodes. I knew it. I told everybody. Everyone made fun of me. I was like, in this movie, Maria's going to explode.
Could not believe, I could not believe, that was wild. I was like, when he, by the way, I like Walters being like, what are you doing? Those are children. I love he says those are children, implying Shadow's also, a child.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that dialogue showing like from Walters there. But yeah, they blow up Maria. And that's where I got like the Gerald still old in the flashback. I was like, how's that, working out? But now we know now. And then I like Shadow. That this is a very cool little Easter egg for those who are familiar with movie 1. When Maria dies, the way Shadow is framed and the way his facial expressions and how sad he gets, it's almost exactly like how when Sonic was getting upset at the baseball field in movie 1, and then it cuts to Shadow
going around
the Ark because he's really upset, charging up the core. Just like how Sonic was running around the baseball field.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's a cool thing. I like how they're kind of really building this.
The parallels.
So when they
parallels.
Get upset,
he's the Turles to Sonic's Kakarot.
Exactly.
It's like, what would happen if Goku didn't hit his head?
Yeah,
and had this entirely different upbringing. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I also like how that entire scene on the when Shadow's spinning and he does the reveal to Eggman. That's where you see the crazy side of Gerald, right? Where he's like, "You're no Maria." He tells him, "We're all gonna, we're blowing up too." I was like, "God damn!"
So so I definitely want to talk about that because Gerald says he's gonna kill everyone, including themselves, and
which was crazy.
What? That was really funny. I really like that scene. But I want to talk about that. That was such I remember audibly being like, "No fucking way!" He just said that when he said, "Oh, Ivo, you're no Maria." That
crazy
was insane because that is lore from the fucking games. Because Eggman is envious of Maria and all the attention she got in the games. He mentioned that in the Eggman memos, but you've never seen anything like this, in the games. And that felt like a direct, building that little tidbit up where like you're not Maria, bro. like you're not Maria.
Yeah, dude, that was cold.
That I remember literally being like, oh fuck, he did not just say that. Insanity. So yeah, so that's what. So just to jump back, because I think right before the Robotniks start fighting, you get the Sonic versus Shadow fight. Can we talk about how this was one of the best Dragon Ball movies I've ever seen in my life?
This is one of the best things I've ever seen in my life, bro.
The movie just changes at this moment. The second he's like, is Gun launching missiles at us? He goes, no, that's too fast. That scene where he's holding the quill and it changes yellow, he goes, it's him. That was so fucking good. So good.
This entire last segment, I need this in 4K, 8K. I need bro. It is the most glorious. Like, I really think that is like the best video game thing done in movies ever.
Yeah.
It's like
probably.
Yeah.
And I think like because we haven't gotten Super Sonic versus Super Shadows and Sonic X.
Yeah.
Like, they don't do that shit. And to have committed to it in the best... Oh, dude. Like, Sonic grabbing Shadow in space and him be like, now you know the pain I felt for 50 years.
He fucking zips right through the Ark, snatches him.
Yeah.
Like, that shit... Like,
crazy.
He didn't care about...
Targeted.
Eggman's, by the way. Like, all he knew, he probably fucking sucked him out into space. But Shadow still, even before he went super, was like, oh,
he's in his base form, like stanced up,
to the earth, and like,
so awesome.
They land in that crater, and the worst part is like, fucking Shadow is so powerful in base, he knocks Super out of Sonic.
Yep. He does what Knuckles did in Sonic 3, where he just punches the emeralds out of him. That was so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he was standing up to Super Sonic in his base form, like, literally not backing down at all. And in fact, he goes up and he does that. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's badass.
Yeah.
It's so freaking cool.
They both go super, and... You get the fucking... I love in this movie how they're playing with... You see this multiple times where they play with the FOV. And I really like that. And you get the shot where he's fucking punching each other. And he's literally
before that, dude, as he goes through the punch, Shadow blocks it. You see the ground break, and it's anime as fuck.
We gotta talk about...
it's so good.
Yeah, let's talk about real quick how they did some Marvel...
The trailer fake out
editing, where they edited some of the trailers, where it's like, in that scene he's actually super, but we didn't see that in the trailers. Very
so good.
Which, by the way, now when movie 4 starts ramping up, we can't even trust our eyes. Like the fucking like that's where analysis stuff is.
I love that. I love trailer fake outs.
Yes,
I think it's like a very underrated use.
It's nice.
Oh, another example of that nothing ever happened, but remember that scene in London when like the Eggman and Stone and Shadow are standing in like a line in the alleyway, and there's like a gap. Nothing ever happened, but I remember people saying like, oh my god, like it's gonna be Metal Sonic or like Rouge.
Well, even remember there was the gap. There was when the first there was the gap where they're looking at the Eggbot and it's like Sonic, Knuckles, and it was Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, and there was like a gap between like him and Stone, and people thought like, oh, is someone here? I don't know.
I kind of like how you can't even trust trailers. Like they'll give the general idea. They're not gonna like straight up lie to you, but they're gonna kind of like alter a few things to kind of like leave some stuff to be discovered during the movie. I really like that. I thought even if it didn't come true, it was cool to like theorize and kind of think like, oh, like is there gonna be like another character here like in this gap, or is it just
because at the same time, well, they did edit that scene. I won't lie and say that they did end up still showing too much of this movie in the trailers. Like they still gave away that they both go super. Like you literally see them in that shot.
Right.
Like they spoiled that so long ago.
Dude, honestly, at this point, it doesn't matter because the toys are gonna leak everything. The toys leak the Shadow. Like, I think the toys were the first thing to leak the super forms.
Yeah.
Like obviously,
Jackson
they're gonna go super.
Always leaks everything.
We knew they were going to.
I heard when SA2 is coming out, Shadow, they did like such a good job to like not show him at all in any trailers, and like he got leaked through a toy, like even back in like 2000. Like before the game came out.
That's crazy.
These dang toy companies, they keep leaking things.
So they both go super. You have that scene where like they're fighting, and then you have that Dragon Ball, just the shot where he's literally punching him different countries. And
Holy shit.
by the way, a little bit of a continuity thing. Didn't he blow up the pyramids in movie 1? He totally blew up.
They shot one of them, but they didn't blow them. But it was a nice nod to be. I thought that was a nod to Sonic Adventure 2, where they're running through the pyramid. But like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
Way,
them punching through
cool.
that.
And then
punching him into a wall. Oh god.
Yeah, and then we got it. So before, because I know it jumps back to Robotniks, but I have them here in one scene because it kind of cuts back to us. So we're gonna stick with the for right now. So this is when Shadow's like, "Where's your friends?" You know what I mean? Like they told you not to come, but you came anyway. Like getting in his head, he goes, "What's his name? Tom." Sonic punches him to the fucking moon.
Yeah.
He punches
they do
to the moon. That
you know it's
so
real
funny.
anime shit. Because they do the Dragon Ball thing straight up, where they show the punch from 3 different angles, right? Like they do front punch, side punch, like top. Like they did 3 shots of it. So that's the most anime shit you can do.
Punches him so hard, not only to the moon, punches him out of his super. Dude, movie Sonic, do not talk shit about his friends or his family.
Yeah, no, he locks in, bro.
I like on
he will kill you.
I saw people like when you make fun of movie Sonic's friends, it's like Thanos, like I have to break your neck, like I just have to do it. Like, but yeah, no, that shit. So yeah, they get punched to the moon. Now there is a small critique here for me when they're both up on the moon looking at the stars talking. I feel like this was a little fast. Where this is where Shadow kind of changes up. He's like, the last time I looked at stars like this, I was with her. They have them talk. I do feel like it was a little fast the way just the immediate switch up with Shadow. I was like, I kind of wish it was like maybe just another minute of like more like
one thing.
What's up?
One thing I thought was really sad in that moment was when like Sonic has him, Shadow's like, "Do it, go ahead, like finish." I was like, he was ready to die. It was kind of like sad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you go back to Gerald's plan, he was going to blow everyone up, including them, and Shadow was okay with it. So, like, Shadow was like, I'm going to, like, basically kill everyone and dip, because, like...
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, I feel like what I wish at that moment is not necessarily, like, a game version, but I do wish, like... Because he did question earlier to Gerald, like, is this what Maria would have wanted? He's like, it doesn't matter what Maria wants. It's about, like, what they deserve. I do wish maybe at that moment there was, like, a cut back to Maria, like him, like, thinking, like, this isn't right. This doesn't feel right. Like, Maria wouldn't want it. I wish there was something, just a little thing where he's, like, the motivation for him switching is more than just, like Sonic convincing him, oh, you're people, you know.
Right. I think if they would have showed that in that moment, he started to like, is this what Maria would have wanted? And he starts doubting himself a little bit. And then when Sonic kind of like talks to him, he's like, you know what? Like, this isn't what Maria would have wanted.
Because Maria doesn't have a wish in this movie.
Yeah, she didn't have
in the original, she has the wish. She says, like, protect the earth, you know.
No, I think for this, it was literally just Shadow was like, why aren't you taking your revenge? Like, that I would take revenge. And Shadow's like, Sonic's like, well, it's not worth it. You know, like revenge ain't worth it. And it's like, I just feel like they just needed like a little something more. It's just a small nitpick. Like, it was just a bit fast. But yeah, so they dab up. You got.
It doesn't matter yet because they dab up into Super, which is like, the coolest shit you could ever do in this world, bro. Yeah. With Live and Learn's time to play, they're like...
Live and Learn starts to play. No. I know we're laughing because...
I
saw this on Twitter, and I remember this. It made me laugh, but like, yeah, you got the most badass moment. Live and Learn just started playing. It's like, holy shit, here we go. And then it immediately cuts to Jim Carrey getting spanked by
Gerald spanking Eggman with his fucking like robot fist, dude.
That's one of the only other moments where when people were like, I kind of don't like this movie, constantly killing the bot. That's the other one. That's the only other one where I was like, I kind of.
For me, that was the biggest spoiler.
It's goofy.
I agree.
Probably not.
I wish that they could have just stayed locked in for a little bit longer.
I'm with you. That's my exact wording. Is I wish, like I was like, it's lock in a clock. Let's lock in. They just
started playing Live and Learn, it was like so cool. And then they cut to that, and I get it's funny because of the juxtaposition of the two scenes, but also like it was so dumb. And then even after that, the weird like fight with like Eggman and Gerald with the little like mantis claws
right now, where it's like. So there's a scene, and this happened. I didn't realize until my second viewing, where this is when he's like, "Oh, they're up there," and then he fucking karate chops him, and he's like, Eggman's running to go stop it.
Running.
He goes, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm stopping your evil plan." The fucking scene where Gerald immediately like does like a jetpack to like boost to him was the most ridiculous shot I've ever seen in this whole fucking movie. And it made me laugh, but I remember being like, it was funny. It's
funny.
Stupid funny. It's funny, but like stupid funny.
Because in between their fight, they unless you want to just do the full Eggman fight, because there's part 2 of when they're in Super, right, where it's like the Unleashed thing almost, where Gerald summons all the gun robots, and it's the coolest shit,
we're
bro.
about to get there right now, because so we have this fight that happens, and you have the spanking, and then we have the where Eggman's hanging off the side. He's like, I gotta tell you something. He goes, "What? You love me?" He goes, "No." And I'm not gonna tell you now that you're acting like that. Like that shit made me laugh.
It's good.
But I think it was at that moment where like Gerald turns around, he sees the monitor, and he's like, "Oh,
and he sees they're coming.
You chose, you betrayed me or whatever." And that's when he sends out the gun robots. And I remember being like,
dude.
"Oh my god!" And this is where you really get the live and learn, because it plays it
orchestrated live and learn. You get like team-up moves where they're holding each other and doing spins.
One thing I noticed is that, like, obviously there's no Bio-Lizard, right? Yeah. There was that scene in the flashback where they're watching like a kaiju movie, and it's like the Bio-Lizard.
The Bio-Lizard, yeah.
And Shadow kind of he still kind of serves a similar purpose.
He compares himself to it.
Right, he compares himself to him, and that's kind of like what happens in the games too. And I thought, like, if you're not going to have the Bio-Lizard, like, that's a good way to kind of, like, still put him in, and then, like, relate kind of, like, Shadow and Bio-Lizard's relationship, still kind of have him question it and everything.
Yeah.
But so we're in space, right? And Super Sonic and Super Shadow are fighting the gun robots. There's no Bio-Lizard, but, like, if you think about the boss fight in Sonic Adventure 2, he spawns all those little, like, balls, and they're, like, navigating around them, and I think that was kind of meant to emulate that scene as best they could, even though they didn't have the Bio-Lizard. I thought that was kind of a smart way to do it.
It was, dude, even like, I love the dynamic, right, where Sonic's like ready to recycle some tin cans, and Shadow does the shoulder thing, and he says, "Try to keep up." I was like, that is such a video game ass line, and they're going through it, and one like shot that's so sick is like Shadow gets on one of the bots, and he like boosts with his like his foot, he boosts into and destroys it. Like they do crazy stuff.
It's crazy, and the chaos spear,
and then the shot.
The chaos spear.
Well, before they do the shot, they do the moonshot.
Yeah.
Best version of the moonshot ever, bro. Like actually, a supersonic version of the moonshot is like, I need that shit.
That shot right there is how you know this movie is made for you to go see this with your friends. And like yell out. Like if you go to the theater, it's like dead. Like you're not having the right experience. You need to go there. You know what I mean? But that shot was amazing. So let's cut back real quick to this is when this is the fucking fight where they have Eggman versus Gerald.
The Mantis Claws.
And okay, so this is I put a pause on this before because I want to talk about it now. So unfortunately, about a year ago, the storyboard for this movie leaked.
Right.
And
it was in the summer, actually, right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
It was like a while ago.
Yeah.
And I remember cutting. I saw it again recently because people were talking about it online. Because I'm just gonna be upfront. The crab and the mantis fight. I thought it was like weird. And I was like, it would be cool, but they're not really fighting. They're kind of like standing in front of each other, just kind of making.
They look stupid, bro. It looks like a little kid fight. Because I thought they were trying. Okay, the only enemy resemblance I could think is like Sonic 1 enemies, where like he's the little
crab enemy and the mantis. Yeah, I think that's what that was like.
It was a bit weird. Very weird actually, because so they're doing that. The thing that was weird is you go back to the storyboard that leaked, and in that storyboard, because in that version, you could see like time rewinding, which we'll talk about that in a bit here. But you could see what the fight was supposed to be in that room, where they're shooting like lasers at each other out of their hands, and they're like dodging, and it's like
right.
And I was just like, damn, that would have been so fucking cool. Like instead of you got the crab and the mantis. Yeah, that was weird. So like I saw that, I was like, it just felt like I feel like a lot of times, they will turn a scene with Jim Carrey, and because it's Jim Carrey, they won't focus in or lock in on the badassness or like doing a cool thing.
Yeah.
They'll always opt for haha funny. Because that whole crab mantis thing was made as a joke. And yeah, I felt like that was just another example where I could see people being like, these movies are really good. This movie's really good too. But there are moments where it does feel like they keep kind of it's like it's a roller coaster and they kind of take you out of it sometimes. They get you back in. Then there's something that takes you out of it. This is one of those moments where it's like,
there's a bit of a whiplash to it. They go from opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Like
I think it comes from the fact probably that like Jim Carrey probably doesn't understand what these games mean to people.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so for him it's just he's playing a role he really loves, and obviously you could tell people around him love it, right? But they give him free reign to be Jim Carrey.
Right. I agree with that. I think that Jim Carrey, right, like he probably has a lot of say in these movies because he's such a 100% star, and he kind of like, for a lot of people. So I went with like a group of friends, and like most of them were like huge Sonic fans, but like a few of them like, you know, weren't really Sonic fans, and like to the non-Sonic fans, Jim Carrey,
they love Jim Carrey.
He made them every movie, like all three of them.
Yeah.
He's like the best part of every movie. So like the people who aren't Sonic fans, like they love Jim Carrey, and like that's probably like the majority of people seeing this movie out of the millions and millions of people. They're not going to be like hardcore Sonic fans. Like they're going to go to see like Jim Carrey and like, you know, maybe their kid is like Sonic, but you know, Jim Carrey is like a huge part of these movies. So I'm sure they give him a lot of creative freedom to kind of do what he wants. And like he's gonna choose to do the funny thing because that's just who he is.
And I think what it is too is because they decided to go with like this weird crab mantis thing. It's like because they're both he's playing himself, right? So he can't really have a very well choreographed fight scene. That's why it's weird. That's why they're just sitting in front of the camera doing the shit where he's like doing this weird
shout
thing.
out to him. I will say shout out to him, bro, for like doing double the scenes like that. That shit looks psycho to do.
And
good
that
for him.
took a lot of time and all that makeup and shit. But
I think Jim Carrey is a really interesting person, and seeing Jim Carrey be able to bounce off of himself is like a
crazy
unique experience. I don't think there's any other movie where like there's two Jim Carrey characters.
I don't think so.
I do want to say though,
except for the mask. Kind of.
I do want to say though, like, a shout out to the VFX or like the effects in general, because like there was no moment where they're both on screens where I was like, I could tell that's green screen or something like that. Like,
not once.
Or
no,
they're like you know patting each other on the back and hugging and everything. You can see them at all times. So like,
now speaking of them interacting, let's talk about when he kills Gerald. It was the funniest.
Holy shit.
Okay.
So funny,
this
bro.
Is one of those moments where, like, I did not have a problem with it being goofy here. Was like, he just stabs him in the butt with the fucking quill. And
you fucking get swatted, like, from, like, a fly.
You expect, like, a giant explosion or something. It's just like...
It's so funny, bro. It's genuinely
significant.
Like, dude, like another... that's a fucking... Like, he's dead.
He's dead, no, that guy is dead.
Yeah, no. But yeah, just the fucking bug zapper comment is just so funny. So yeah. So that, you know, they go into trying to stop the Ark from firing, and then you have Sonic.
Chaos Spears were fucking raw, dude.
Yeah, the Chaos
Spears. When he's like, take care of the rest, he just like spawns like 50 Chaos Spears. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And this is when they shoot the laser, Sonic and Shadow, where it's very interesting because this is not where Live and Learn plays. You'd think this is where Live and Learn would play.
Yeah.
Not where Live and Learn plays. So they're blocking the laser and they're turning the Ark. And this is very interesting, a different change from the games. Sonic is the one where he can't keep up. He's the one that's like, he's the one that falls. He falls. He starts falling back to Earth after they save the Earth. And they continue. My favorite joke in the whole movie, this shit actually made me like yell out laughing, was at that moment I thought about it, I was like, they didn't shoot the moon yet. And then they kept turning, I was like, oh no.
Oh good.
And that scene where Eggman's like, I did it. And then you see it slice the moon. He goes,
it's slit.
What did you do?
Whoa. Yeah. What a good way to still have the moon be destroyed. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that the moon being destroyed is funny here, right? They're like, oh, it was an accident. It's like, oh shit, my bad.
No, that was I think that's my favorite joke in the whole movie. That shit was really
It's so good.
So yeah, so
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so
No, go.
We go into the part that one of the times I cried, and it was because, just again, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles dynamic was Sonic's falling back to Earth, Shadow's busy saving trying to stop the station, pushing it away before it explodes, and
he didn't use the fake Chaos Emerald. What's going on? Also, so do you guys think this is on purpose? The word Chaos Control was not uttered by Shadow. Isn't that kind of crazy?
I didn't notice that.
It is.
He doesn't say Chaos Control?
It is weird. They do talk about like chaos energy that Shadow has.
Right. But it's like, that's such a, because he says it in the game DLC, right? And I feel like it is such an iconic thing. I know people that were like even casually and something, they're like, oh, he didn't say Chaos Control.
You know why? I think is it because I think it would just blatantly give away, oh, they're alive. If he says if he Chaos Controlled right before it explodes and he says it, you would know, oh, he teleported. Now we know he does with the end credit, but it's still up for interpretation if Eggman made it or not. And I guess they probably don't want to like confirm Eggman's alive or dead yet, because I think it's up to the contract.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
they probably don't even know.
Yeah, exactly.
To be honest.
But Sonic is falling back to Earth. Tails goes out to
on
save
fire. Also, that like stressed me out when he's like falling to Earth. He's like on fire, and then like Tails goes down to rescue him, and then he starts lighting on fire. I'm like, oh my god,
he's passing out. But I really I was like, oh my god, like you can. I really like. I remember getting emotional because like I love Tails and Knuckles, and Tails being like, I got you, Sonic, and he's like risking his life for him. And then, like,
you know what that reminded me of, though, is the ending for Sonic 2, where Sonic is falling back down to Earth from the egg carrier, or the Death Egg, I mean, and Tails swoops in. This is, like, if you don't get the Chaos Emeralds, right? Like, if you do, then he, like, turns Supersonic and he flies away. But if you don't, like, Tails runs up and he saves him, so it's kind of like that. I mean, that happens in a bunch of games, like I think in Sonic Advance there's like a bunch of games where that happens.
Yeah, but like this,
that was cool that they got to do that. I
always love that too, because it hits more too, because Sonic burned them a little bit ago, so like they're still deciding to save Sonic, and in the end too, like Knuckles also comes in to save the day, helps them both and teleports them with the ring. But like that to me was like, dude, this is my Team Sonic. Like they're like, I really love this movie universe's version of it. Their synergy, I really like it. I remember getting the music in that scene too was really beautiful.
Yeah, so good. Shadow takes off the inhibitor rings as he's pushing. Yeah, it's so raw.
Yeah, so
that was awesome.
Yeah, and to jump back to space. He's pushing the station, and this is where Eggman does his little goodbye message to Stone.
Yeah.
I might as well save it. We can't rule the world, might as well save it. I that's why it's like, I really don't know if he made it, because that really is like the perfect send off. Like he referenced movie 1. It's like, it was a little too perfect.
You referenced, that scene is like amazing. That obviously have Stone going back and be like, don't do this. I think because of like the post credit scene where Shadow's alive, it leads me to believe they still leave it open to leave it open. Oh, yeah. It's just like the other 2 movies, in fact, where like, Eggman's put in a position where like, okay, they could have ended movie 1 if he didn't want to come back with him being stuck on Mushroom Planet. Movie 2, he falls out. He could have been seen as dead. And same thing here. I agree here. It feels more conclusive where he's making the references to all of the movies. To me, it came off more like he's probably not a main role in movie 4. He's probably like end of movie 4. Maybe they save him as a post credit for movie 4, going into movie 5 as a return. Straight
to the post credits, because it's like the team they hug and they make up, and I really like Team Sonic.
Another thing I had a gripe with was how like during that scene when they like crash on like a cornfield or like some farm or something.
Yeah,
and I think it's Tails who says, well, first of all, they're playing the end credits music from Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah. Like
the little piano song. That was cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
I got that.
But Tails mentions like, oh, like Shadow sacrificed himself, and Sonic's like, oh man. And I was like, well, anyways, like there's like no like fanfare for like what Shadow just did. He brushes it off so quickly.
Are you sure? Because I thought he said like everyone has a choice. Best lines.
Yeah. He's like, he was a brave and heroic hedgehog, like sayonara.
You're right.
Hedgehog. It's very heartfelt, and everyone is like very, very like depressed about it. They're like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, he became good and he saved us all.
You're right.
There's like the whole credit scene is about them like reminiscing about like, Shadow and how they're gonna move on now that like the Earth has been saved because of Shadow. And then like in the movie like it's like one line and then they
just one of those moments where it's like they really want to keep it going.
The pacing was
but
like
for us it's like we wouldn't mind you stay a little bit. Let's talk about it.
Also,
the scenes are good. Yeah.
This is awesome, and I don't know if you guys caught this. When Super Shadow like is saying goodbye to Eggman too, he's like, we can do one more thing to make the right choice, and Eggman tells him in Italian. He says the Sayonara Shadow the Hedgehog, but he's saying it in Italian like the show they were watching, right? He says like "Vamos vistos, stinking hedgehog," but like that was a nod to the Sayonara Shadow the Hedgehog. I thought that was really cool.
So yeah, it's like it's interesting because like that Sayonara Shadow came from Eggman, and it was again kind of like
and like, it's in Italian instead. It's cool. It's cool.
It's like but like no, I get what you mean though, Ryan. Like I think it's just one of those moments where like the games will kind of tell these stories, I guess, better in a sense.
Well, so I was gonna say too, like just to riff off that, I think the difference is, Ryan, like in SA2, Shadow was dead as supposed to be dead. Whereas I think because in this universe, everyone knows he's not dead.
And they even show it at the
exactly.
Back.
I think that's the big reason they didn't make it a ceremonious goodbye, is because like it's not goodbye. We all know it. Yeah.
I think they saved it for Eggman's goodbye. I guess
But so let's jump to this after credit. So okay, I thank God I was not spoiled. I literally avoided.
I was not spoiled.
I avoided spoilers too. Yeah, thankfully.
Like I was really happy about that. I genuinely went into this. I did not know. I was like, it has to be Metal Sonic. Like people were saying, they hope it's Silver. In my mind, I was like, they have to tease the next enemy. They have to tease the next thing. That's because if they're
gonna kill off their main enemy, the thing to tease is like the enemy for the next.
It was either going to be Metal or Silver, because obviously Silver you can frame as an enemy. I thought it was going to be, because my thought process going in was like, okay, Amy is a character that if we saw, we'd be like, let's go, I love Amy, cool. But like you said, it's not a threat. It's not something that goes, oh fuck. And so I think Metal complemented with Amy makes it so much bigger. So like,
that's because they debut in the same game.
When Metal,
they're kind of linked in that way.
I wish, this is one of those moments where I fucking wish like I had like a camera on me at that moment. When Metal
me too.
Popped up, I was like, I
jumped.
Like, yes, because I was like, I wanted Metal. I wanted Metal.
Dude, Metal is like, by the way, 1-to-1.
1-to-1.
Like it's unreal,
so
right?
Good.
And he looks so
unreal, dude.
He looks so good. He looks like basically they took the model from the game and just added extra like detail to him.
It's always crazy. It's so on model. This has to be a running joke though. This has happened in Sonic Boom. Metal looks like Metal. Like if every iteration,
he's the only character
Metal,
they could get right.
Yeah, same with
like on model every time.
He always looks normal.
I really
one thing that I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. One thing I thought was really funny though is because like how movie Sonic is redesigned, right? He has the two separate eyes and the blue arms and everything. Well, like Metal Sonic, he has the uni eye, like the one like panel.
Oh
his eye. So he's like based off of Game Sonic still, but like I think it's fine. But I thought it was like kind of funny.
Sonic said, "You got some details wrong."
I think what's cool is Sonic is the only movie character design that's like not 1-to-1, and you could argue could be better.
Really funny.
Everyone else is perfect, literally.
It is interesting. I noticed this while watching this version because like Tails always looks normal. He always had separate eyes.
Perfect.
Knuckles and Shadow, they have two separate eyes as well in this movie universe, but the way their eyes are shaped are very similar to the game.
So good.
Think about it. It only does. This might be a nitpick. I saw people making edits on Twitter. I do wish they would keep Sonic's eye shape reminiscent to the games more, not so like oval over the top all the time. Like I wish it was more kind of like shaped. I'm nitpicking. I'm literally nitpicking.
Yeah,
but, like,
that's what we do.
But yeah, so you got the Metal Sonics, and he's like mass produced. Like there's multiple Metal Sonics. And then you get Amy.
Awesome.
You see her hammer.
Awesome. Yeah, because
as soon as you see the hammer, you know. My friend and I looked at each other, we're like, holy shit.
Because it's pink, right? Because the
so cool.
is pink too, and you're like, oh my god, dude. Yeah. And like an unbelievably cool way to make her show up. Like, because like the hammer goes back there and you see the moon split in half behind her.
And she's wearing like a cloak.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for like mysterious cloaked characters. I think it's so cool when someone has like a ragged cloak and like, you know, a hood and they like reveal themselves. I think it's so
She looks so perfect, dude.
This is the interesting thing, and I'll talk about it more in future videos, but we could touch upon it here real quick. So listen here, bro. I'm a huge fan of Sonic Heroes. I love Sonic CD. Literally merge the two together, movie 4, bro. And you know, there's something I noticed, and I said we'll put a pin on it. We'll talk about it now. So in the storyboard that leaked, in that version, there was like time travel stuff happening. Clearly that wasn't in this movie. I think that was deliberate because I think they're going to move that time travel stuff into movie 4 and we're going to have like a Sonic CD situation. And to go back to what you said, Ryan, about Chaos in Sonic Heroes, obviously, Metal Sonic copied the data. Chaos, he's able to like morph and copy data. He's like the Terminator. You know what I mean? And I would not be surprised if movie 4 is like Sonic CD mixed with Sonic Heroes and they do like a Terminator type thing with time travel. Would not be surprised if they do that.
I was wondering. Yeah, go.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, my one worry is like she cooked those Metal Sonics like really easily.
Right.
And like Metal Sonic didn't, like Metal Sonic is not like, because like in the OVA, right, or like the game, it's like he's like a mega threat and he like hella fights back. Whereas here, like, unless it was the clone ones that lost and the main one like dipped or didn't jump in, my one thing is more like, are they just gonna make Metal like a bunch of robots that gets defeated? Yeah, instead of something that's a threat.
So that's the thing where like they can't have Metal Sonic and just have him getting destroyed so easily. Like I'm hoping like there is a Metal Sonic that is the Metal Sonic, like the real one that's like
Metal Sonic or something similar where he's like just a bigger, more powerful Metal Sonic.
What would be cool if they want is take like they should just do hella fan service with this one, right? Like they should just have different types of Metal Sonics where it's like you have the main one from CD.
Yeah.
You have the one from Knuckles, which is like Mark II, which could harness the power of the Master Emerald. You know what I mean? Like a Metal Sonic that could go super would be crazy. And then you could have the Sonic Heroes version, Neo Metal Sonic, where he's like I think there's some stuff they could do where like hopefully Metal Sonic is not just like a joke. You know what I mean? Like I do want, and my hope too, and I'll say this, if Jim Carrey is not coming for the 4th one, he has to, right? But if he's not, you know what I mean? I would be interested in seeing like how these movies would perform, like having without
him.
You know what I mean? Because like Metal Sonic is the spawn of Eggman. So like how does this happen? You know what I mean?
That's what my friend and I were trying to like just think about it.
Together,
you know, like okay, so we have Metal Sonic. This is like almost immediately after movie 3, right? Yeah. Eggman wasn't doing anything. He was sitting on his ass. He got like really fat. He was watching TV, eating snacks and stuff. Yeah. So like I don't think he made Metal Sonic, but like who else? Like it wasn't Gerald, because Gerald doesn't know Sonic. Like you have to know Sonic to make a metal version of Sonic. Gerald didn't know Sonic. Like he knew Shadow, but it's not called Metal Shadow. He doesn't look like Shadow. Like that's where I think time travel must have come into play. I think Metal Sonic must be from the future, right? Because there's no feasible way to let alone like produce Sonic, like a Metal Sonic, but mass produce a bunch of them. I don't know where that would fit in. So I think it has to be time travel.
Yeah, and that's the thing too.
Time travel
with the storyboard. That's the thing where it's like I don't think like there's a possibility, like I really don't think Eggman may have died. I think they got teleported to a different time, because in the storyboard version that is, you know, got changed, they didn't really explode. You could see on the time of his watch is like spinning super fast. Like they go into the future, and I'm wondering if, you know, things could change. Obviously, you know, Eggman could be dead.
Time eater.
But I'm just saying, I legitimately think, you know. They went to the future, and that's where Metal Sonic is coming from. And if they're in the future, maybe there's a possibility for Silver. You know what I mean? Right. And
well, maybe.
Go.
So if I'm Paramount, right, and like this is kind of meta, right, because this is kind of like external, right? Jim Carrey is an actor that has been trying to retire for a little bit. And he even said, like, he wouldn't do a movie unless it was, like, written in gold. And, like, this one was, I think they literally said they brought him the script in actual gold.
Yeah.
And he thought it was funny. And also, like, he loves these movies. So, like, he maybe made an exception for this movie. I don't know if this is going to be the norm, if he's going to keep doing Sonic movies, or if he really does want to retire. And this was the one exception.
They gotta pull out their wallet.
Yeah.
We could,
Hey, man.
you know what I mean? Just like pulling out like a.
Yeah.
I think it's possible. They just need to. I think another 10 million slip him his way will do you wonders. You know what I mean? You'll make it up. Don't worry.
I mean, that's true. They could maybe get him back. But I feel like it's very like uncertain, you know? You don't want to plan your whole movie around Eggman and then turns out he can't even show up for it. He's not willing to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And I do almost think they were kind of setting up Agent Stone a little bit.
Yes, 100%. I think so.
Hear me out. Like, let's say, okay, in the future, like, Agent Stone wants to avenge Eggman and he becomes like a super genius and he builds Metal Sonic in the future.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
He goes to the past to like try to kill him or something.
Well, 'cause
maybe he's trying to like prevent Eggman's death in the past or something.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought. I thought like the only other way Metal could have been made today is if like Stone was secretly building him in his own time with one of like Sonic's quills, right? Because remember, this is something they don't ever address. Remember the movie 2 post-credits scene, like Agent Stone does the thing where he's covering up as like a gun soldier.
Yeah.
And they like never follow up on that, right? And now that could have been retcon. They could have just not gone with it. But he could have been doing something there, you know?
I think an explanation could be he did that so he can escape. Because the gun was swarmed like
it
all
was
around
during
that.
that.
He was Eggman like died at the end of the movie too, and then Lee made his escape so that he could like come back and recoup and everything. So, I think maybe that's like an explanation.
Yeah. Now I know this has gone on for so long, so we could probably like end off with like a generic like we'll just say this, right? Because I know we could yap about this post-credit scene. Ever, because like we don't know, and like we're gonna be talking about this. I will just say this, just to round it off. Go see the movie. Well, if you watch this video, like,
you probably already saw it.
But go see it again multiple times. Movies, I think it just passed 200 million. So I think
awesome.
I mean, movie 4 is already locked in. They already announced it. So
they announced it.
So like it's gonna be interesting what happens. But I'll just say overall, this movie was great. I really enjoyed this. It is my favorite out of all 3 movies.
Out of all 3, yep.
Easily.
I think
definitely easily the best one.
This is the direction I want from them, right? Where it's like, all right, yes, there's always going to be some family-friendly aspects because these are movies and a lot of kids are going to see them and stuff. But I also want them to grow up with those kids, right, that are watching the same way we grew up with the games and have like cooler shit keep happening, because you got to up the ante. I mean, you just gave us Super Sonic versus Super Shadow, which is raw as hell, and you're gonna have to do something crazy to top that.
I just think, you know, the writing for this was a lot better compared to the other movies. I think the music, the tone, the animation, everything was just so much better. Absolutely loved it. I don't do rankings here, but like if I did, no joke, this would probably get like a 9, like an 8, or like it's so
it's amazing.
It's really good, like legitimately really good movie. So I'm so hyped for the future of this franchise. And I'll just say this now, if our thoughts about like movie 4 being tied like with CD and maybe a little bit of Heroes, I'm just saying maybe that discussion about a Heroes remake was real. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning into this video. I'll end it off like that. But no, this was a lot of fun. Shout out to you both for tuning in. You guys want to advertise yourselves? Who are you? Start with you, Ryan. Who are you?
Oh, yeah. I'm Chomix. You can find me on YouTube. I do lore discussions and weird theories. And I'm making a video game called Star Garden. You should wish list it right now on Steam. Thank you.
Do it. Games Cage, yap about Sonic. You see me do it once or twice. I stream, make YouTube videos. That's all.
Yeah. And thank you both for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This is gonna be a lot of fun. We'll see how this next new year turns out, and we'll be locked in for movie 4. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys around. Take care.
Peace.